Community Redevelopment Agency meeting. Today's Wednesday, November 16th. We will start this meeting at 5:05. I call this meeting to order. Roll call.
Board Member Faircloth McCormick.
Present.
Board Member Maldonado.
Here.
Board Member Shelley.
Here.
Board Member Waldman. Absent. Board Member Williams.
Here.
Vice Chairman Burgess. Here. Chairman Bateman. Absent.
Any deletions or deferrals? Okay. Approval of the minutes, tab 1. All right, properly moved.
Second.
Second. Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, new business. Discussion of Dade Medical College proposed purchase of CRA lots.
A second.
All right. Manager?
The staff is seeking direction from the board regarding Dade Medical College's amended proposal for the purchase of CRA lots. On February 23, 2011, Dade Medical College presented Homestead CRA board with a proposal to purchase several properties owned by the CRA. The proposal included the sale of 21 lots at a purchase price of $658,950. On March 2, 2011, the board instructed staff to begin negotiations with Dade Medical on the proposed sale. The board passed a motion directing staff to commission appraisals of the proposed lots, post the 30-day public notice requirement for selling CRA properties, and to remove from the proposal the request for the city to pay the Realtors Commission. The 30-day public notice was posted on April 8, 2011. The appraisal was completed June 11, 2011. On November 8, 2011, Dade Medical College presented the city and the CRA with the attached amended proposal. Dade Medical College is proposing the purchase of 19 lots at a purchase price of $328,000. They are also requesting the CRA finance 80% of the accepted purchase price, or $262,400, at a 5% interest rate, with principal and interest amortized over 15 years with a 5-year balloon and no prepayment penalty if the loan is paid off early. Exhibit 2 is an analysis comparing the appraiser's report with the original proposal and the new proposal, and the staff is seeking direction from the board regarding Dade Medical College's amended proposal for the purchase of CRA lots.
All right. We have a presentation from you all.
Good afternoon. Raul Mendez. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Dade Medical College and representing Mr. Ernesto Perez, which was unavailable today to attend. With me is our counsel, John Gennaro.
John Gennaro, attorney for Dade Medical College.
Good afternoon, counsel. Enclosed in your packets, we've actually included the actual proposal and the offer. We have renderings inside the package as well, the public notice, a CRA map, the actual purchase agreement, and a comparable table as well on the back page of the actual proposal.
All right.
And basically, again, we're here, as was stated before, and we certainly would like more direction as to where we're headed with this project. We are committed to the city of Homestead. We have a proven track record down on Main Street. We have currently we invested down there in property close to $2.5 million, plus another $1 million in capital improvement for our current college, which is down there. This particular property, these parcels, the interest here for us is going forward is a mixed-use retail and also for college as well, for a potential university that we'd like to bring down here. And the university itself we're actually doing an acquisition in northern Florida currently, which that university is a full 4-year accredited university, all the way through the doctorate level. And the goal for Dade Medical College and FEC, Florida Education Center, is to bring down that university and continue to build upon that. and serve the needs of the community here, serve the graduates, the local high school kids, rather than seeing them exit the city, the Homestead area, to retain them and have them continue their education here in Homestead. And over and above that, we also look forward to investing on this property, on these parcels, close to $40 million, anywhere between $30 to $40 million in this mixed-use project, if you will, building infrastructure. And as you can see, we have a couple of renderings here as well, some pictures, very preliminary. One has a couple of brownstone buildings. You can see it has that university feel from the northeast, and the above rendering is more of a Florida feel. So again, we're in that phase right now as more of an exploratory phase. If we could agree and we could move forward with this project, we would definitely put plans in place and start that permitting process. And we're committed to do that in our phase 1 no later than January 2013.
Let me just say, and I'll open it up to my esteemed board members and colleagues, but I want to commend you all for taking the downtown and really shaping it up. And as I ride down there, I see a lot of different and new, exciting things. And so
thank you.
I'm excited about what you all are doing. At the same time, my main concern, and I have expressed this with the CRE director, is that I don't have a problem with the purchase. What I do probably have a problem with is that the commitment level of what you're going to put on those properties, and how soon are you talking to be really developing the property, because what I would not like to see is that we sell you the property and it remains vacant.
Right, absolutely.
I would think that would not be the intent of what we're trying to accomplish with the CRA.
Well, again, as I stated before, what we're committed as a phase 1 is to have our plans in place no later than January 2013, to have that plan submitted in for permitting. The goal for us is really to move as quickly as possible. It's really hard for us to sit up here and commit, but yet our track record speaks for itself. We have approximately 15,000 square feet of school buildings currently down in that Chrome area, where from purchase to completion was a total span of 15 months. We most recently purchased the McCrory property, I think it was a couple months ago, correct? And that's already in plans. In other words, that's going through the permitting process, and an adjacent restaurant as well, including just 2 weeks ago, we just closed on the motel property down there as well. And again, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. Part of that process for us is, again, it's our commitment not only to the community and to our students, but it's really a community, because what the goals that Ernesto set forth from the moment that he actually set foot here in Homestead was to redevelop that area. Despite the area maybe not being up to par, we could have easily gone into the traditional shopping center location, as much of the career colleges do, and lease property. He actually committed and purchased property and redeveloped that property. John and I, just this afternoon, had lunch over at a Subway down there, which is right next to our school, our main entrance, right next to 381. And again, you're seeing that revitalization taking shape. So I guess the short and sweet answer is that we're committed to doing that, and we will have plans, and that's our phase 1. Again, it's a $30 to $40 million investment when all said and done on those parcels.
All right. Mr. Councilman Shelley?
Chairman.
All right, and then John Burgess after Mr. Shelley.
Again, I think you guys have done a great job with the downtown area. It really looks much nicer than it ever has, and it's good to see the foot traffic down there. The problem I have with the current proposal that's sitting here in front of me is there's really not much to it. It's really an offer to buy land at a set price. And for me, the idea of selling that land, the purpose of that is to revitalize the downtown area, is to put something there, to put an anchor tenant that is going to be able to survive where some of these other tenants have not. And so for me, what I'm looking for is not the price as much as it is what you're actually going to do. I want to know how much of it's going to be commercial, how much is going to be actual school. I want an actual percentage. I want a time frame that says you will build this product, you will begin construction at this particular time, that these are the correspondence you're going to go and going to follow, so that we can follow along to make sure that you're getting the job done, especially since we're holding the note. So it actually works out well if we're going to hold the note that you meet those criteria. And so the problem I have with what you have here before me is that there's not enough here for me to say I can support this. The concept is okay. I'm okay with the concept of coming down there, bringing maybe a school with some commercial. I think hopefully more commercial than maybe school. But I can't support what I have here in front of me because there's not much there. It's a good maybe proposal just to say we were interested. But what I would like to see you is come back with an actual draft of what it is you're proposing, timelines, the whole 9 yards before I can really get on board and say I wholly support this.
Respectfully, I will say that we are committed to the area. I think, again, our track record speaks for itself. But let's be clear, the property value hasn't been increasing. It's been on the decline. And for us, again, we are committed. I think when the public notice went out, I don't think that we didn't have anybody step forward as we have done and really commit themselves as we have. I hear what you're asking for. We don't have that today. Our commitment is to have that in place by January 2013. Is to have all of that set in place, because there are a lot of moving parts, and one of them being the university product. And that's something that we're in that phase of acquisition now, which should be completed within the next 30 days. Once we have that, we have to go through an accreditation process, meaning for all the approvals to take shape and form for us to be able to move that down here. As soon as that takes place, we are going to set up the programs and the tracks and begin hiring, because this is really about creating jobs, first and foremost, because any type of construction that we go through down there, first is going to create those jobs, the local jobs here in the community, to have the construction jobs, and it's going to create immediate jobs for those administrative positions that are going to be needed, because bringing a university down here is going to take an effort of well over a year just to set up a shop down here without even having students. That would be a phase of that university project, but we don't have that data with us today to be able to support that or be able to provide that. So we feel, what we're saying to you today is that we are committed. We just set up a hospitality company to run that McCrory property and the adjacent restaurant, and we're looking to do mixed use and retail of that building that we just purchased. And the goal there is going to be shops and restaurants. And again, it's to attract not only the local community to be able to go down there and have some entertainment for them, but also to attract the tourism. And as well, that's going to create 100 jobs, that in of itself.
And I don't disagree. The only problem I had is that, again, if we're going to be taking the land off the market and we're going to be given it essentially at a reduced rate, a substantially reduced rate, then it's going to be at least a year and a half before there's any substantive answers that you can give us. That's hard for me to agree to. That's the problem that I have. And the other thing is, too, is that I don't like to give away land with no strings attached, but essentially it's a handshake. And you're saying you're committed, we give you the land at this cheap price, and then ultimately you come back a year and a half from now and say, we didn't get the accreditation, so now we're either not going to develop the land or we're going to do something completely different. And so what I want is safeguards. I want everything spelled out to say, okay, I'm willing to give you the year and a half to get the accreditation, but I want that spelled out to say that's what you're doing, and then you're going to have an answer by this date. And so that's what I need, some very structured terms.
Just for the record, though, the accreditation we're acquiring the accreditation. We're not going through a period of acceptance or not. Once we acquire, we are accepted. It's a matter of transitioning. In other words, being able to open up either branch. I mean, it's so a bit convoluted in the sense of, I don't want to sit here and.
No, I understand.
But it's not really about going. Just for the record, it's not. The accreditation is something we would be acquiring. It's just the process, the due process that takes over that certain amount of time, whether it be a year or 6 months, I'm not sure.
Right, and just the last comment is again, my point is, though, is I just want to make sure that that's laid out, that structure. I want to vote on that, not on what I have in front of me, which is kind of a handshake deal. I want everything laid out in front of me to analyze, to talk about with the manager, to talk about with anybody who evaluates it. So when I sit here and vote on it, I'm comfortable that I've done my due diligence and that the city of Homestead, the resident, because this is land owned by the city, are getting a good deal and are going to get something for their money. That's my biggest concern.
All right. Board Member Burgess?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I guess this would go to one of our land use guys. In the last meeting, it was stated that that the taxes, if they used the building for education, there would be no taxes upon that building and the land. Is that correct? It's in the minutes from the last meeting, and I asked a question then, too.
From my reading of the minutes, the portion of the property that's used for retail would be taxed, and the nonprofit portion of it would not. So it really depends on the percentages of the property that are being used for profit.
So the building and everything, whatever, the value of that, so they couldn't go in and just put an education, one room of education in there, and the whole property, that square property and whatever the building would be exempt, correct?
I think that's something for...
And one thing we could do is have them to prepare a tax analysis that would show their plans, show the portions of the building that they would view would be taxable and those non-taxable, so we could see the benefits to the tax roll. Because parts that are not used for a non-profit educational use would be subject to the ad valorem tax. So maybe they can do an analysis of that we could review.
Do you guys see what, you guys weren't here at the last meeting, what I had asked?
No, I was here.
Oh, you were, okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's been a while, I
It's okay.
couldn't remember.
Sorry.
Is that something you guys could, I
Well,
mean,
I-
obviously you'd have to have the architectural plans drawn up and
That's
and what you're gonna
exactly
do.
it. I mean, for us to move forward, again, and I just want to be clear, we're committed to the project. Going back to what I was stating before, on our track record, just the property, the motel property, the McCrory Building property, and the adjacent restaurant, that's all going to be under our hospitality holdings company. That's all retail and mixed use. I'm not the legal expert, so, but it is all retail. In other words, it's going to be added to the tax roll. So, again, we can't move forward without having the city's commitment, because then it requires us additional investing. And again, we are committed to the project, and the moment that we have approval, we're committed to start. And again, we're using the Phase 1 date of January 2013, but quite frankly, we move...
That's not a shovels in the dirt, though, that's you bringing some plans to us, correct? So
That is,
that's much
exactly,
more
that's
down
the
road.
line in the sand deadline, but again, what I was going to state before is, we are going to move fast on it. But we need to set a date, because we have to go through, obviously, the architectural, we have to go through the permitting and the plans and whatnot.
And then I guess this would go to the city manager or one of our attorneys again. With the legislation that's being proposed in Tallahassee, can we carry this loan and do everything?
We had research that, Rick,
That question can be answered contractually. From my discussions with the attorneys, we can put in, if the CRA is terminated or if it sunsets, that the payments can go to the city.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Right.
Chairman.
Okay, Ms. Fairclough McCormick?
Yes, through the chair. First, I'd like to commend you for the role that you've played in revitalizing downtown, but more importantly, the measures that you have taken to invest in our children's future. I looked through your application and see that you supported the local Chamber of Commerce, Mass Academy, and Homestead Senior High. And you've done a great job of highlighting your track record, as you have been clearly articulating, and your commitment. And I get that, but we're in the era of accountability. And in order for me to support this amended proposal in its totality, there has to be some conditions and some strings attached set in place as far as the timeline for completion and the fact that after 15 years or within that time frame, you can't sell the property. So in order for me to support this project, I would have to have those strings attached and those conditions in place. So if you do that, then I would be in favor of this project.
All right. All right, Ms. Wallman? Board Member Wallman?
Can't hardly see you down there, Jim. Sorry I was late. I was working. I did a lot of math today, and I'm sorry if this has already been discussed, but before the first proposal we had, that was approximately 60% of the assessed value of the properties. And this one today is approximately 30, I want to say it's 37.9% of the assessed value of the properties. So with that being said, and then we have the appraisals that came in, which some of those I don't understand at all. And I sit there and I compared apples to apples and apples to oranges. And I know that property values are falling. I mean, I see it every single day. So I don't really have a problem with the price at all. My problem is that I didn't realize it was going to be 2013 before you could commit. So I was going to suggest, I thought it was this coming year. So I was going to suggest that we hold the property in escrow until you got the commitment for the college, and then proceed with the closing. But that's an awful long time, 2013. What is your commitment with the college right now? I mean, where are you in the process?
Just to be clear, because I mentioned the acquisition, because that's part of what moving the college, the university rather, here. It is our commitment to this property has no bearing on that university, about that, that's part of what our game plan is going forward. But that is part of what we are planning to do, is bring the university down here.
And I realize that.
We're committed to this project from day one. The moment that we receive approval, we're moving forward. What we're stating is that we have a strict deadline that for completion, phase one, of turning in these renderings and all these, going forward on January 2013. Shovels in the ground, as Councilmember Burgess mentioned.
Would it make a difference with this council, perhaps, if we move the balloon from 5 years to 3 years, showing your commitment?
We're not prepared to answer at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your first proposal, it came with, the entire package of the college and how many jobs. In this proposal, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but I don't think it came with any of that, correct?
No, it did not, but if you look in the original proposal, it's the same documents, the sale purchase documents, it's just with some changes in there. So the document received on November 8th was just that proposed sale document. It wasn't an amendment, it wasn't a new proposal.
Okay.
I think it was
so
just...
we're to assume then that the documents that we were presented back in February are the same documents that apply to this contract?
There's just some additional, in Homestead at our day medical facility college, we have 65 current jobs there.
I know, but it goes in to talk about...
We have 250 students and 65 employees local at
The material differences are the removal of 2 lots from the original proposal, and the original proposal asked for 70% of the purchase price being financed through the CRA, and the new proposal is asking for 80%.
Okay.
And the proposed sale price.
Okay. Okay. So you're putting down an additional 10%, correct?
No, they're asking...
Oh, you're taking that. So
yes.
the original proposal...
was for the 30.
70-30.
Right,
Okay.
this is 80-20.
80-20.
Okay. Why are you doing that?
Business
I mean, you're getting a
decision.
really good price here, so why are you doing that?
Because that's what we feel we can do right at this point. Again, for us, we're committed to the project. I mean, moving forward, I think land values are going to drop, quite frankly, and we don't want to walk away from the project. We're committed to doing it.
I would be careful saying that, because we do have an appraisal, and the appraisal, I don't know if I have my figures right here, but you came in quite lower than the appraised value. $540,000 lower than the appraised value. And the appraisal was done in June, correct? No, that's lower than the contract 8 months ago. And then $693,000 lower than the assessed values.
Right.
So you're getting a really...
Well, we have our...
You know I'm on your side. You know that I love this concept.
I know
and
that the
want
council is on our side. We're well aware of that. Thank you.
But I'm trying to... I mean, as Ms. McCormick said, we have a responsibility to our citizens to try to get the best deal possible.
Of course. And we respect that, and we would expect nothing less, of course. In terms of appraisal, we have an appraisal which is actually included in the packet that I presented to you all today. It's in there as well, our appraisal.
Why didn't you get that to us before? You mean that's a new appraisal that you just did?
When was that done?
That was the original one from the
It's
first.
in the original one, yeah. I see that.
That's the,
Anything else?
I'll just
Board Member
reserve
Waldman?
comments till later if
Okay.
there's any other discussion.
Chairman.
All right, yes, go ahead, Board Member Martin.
Question to the CRA Director. We asked back in February for it to go out to bid, RFP. That process happened, obviously we saw that. My question, did we have any other bids on this property at all? Anyone interested, anything like that?
No,
Okay, yeah, at the time I had asked, you weren't sure, right? So at this point, no, we've not got any bids?
none.
Okay. Listen, I think it's obvious the commitment that this corporation, this organization is, the level of commitment, it's, I think, surpassed any other that is in Homestead today. Miami-Dade Community College is here, and they do a lot within the community, but you guys, being a smaller school, have shown a greater level of commitment. From the numbers that I see here, you've contributed over $50,000 into this community since you've been here. That's a level of commitment that we appreciate. Obviously, it's not one that, I think what we don't want everyone to think is that because you contribute, you're going to just automatically get the support. But I know that 9 months ago, this first offer was made, and it was at what was the price at that time?
For the 19 parcels, it would have been $617,728.82.
Almost would have been great to take it at the first stab. 5 months ago we had the appraisal completed, and the appraisal came in at was a significant lower.
The appraisal came in at $865,425.
Now we're, as the CRA, we could is that level of the price, how much of a reflection, how much is that do we have to commit to?
If I misspeak, I do reserve the right for the attorneys to chime in, but the CRA can sell property at what's called fair value. So we do not have to sell at market rate. If the board feels that the proposal, the positive economic impact of the proposal is great, they can give the land away. So the appraisals were done at the request of the board, so we had an understanding of what the property would be worth. But under the use of fair value, it doesn't have to be sold at market value.
Just to add to that, the CRA statute does say that if a CRA body decides to sell property below what the statute calls a fair value because of all the other factors, they simply approve that at a public hearing.
Okay. All right.
I'll reserve the rest for now.
May I ask another question?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Chair. So what does that mean? So if we voted to, because to me, this is not fair value, so...
To me, it means that if you give direction to proceed with this matter, it would require that a comprehensive development agreement be created so that there's safeguards and conditions, as several of you have mentioned, and then also when it comes time to finally approve that agreement by the CRA board, it be listed on the item as a public hearing, and so that way anyone may speak and be heard on the matter, just to satisfy that portion of the statute that talks about sale below fair value.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Question. Yeah. Who determines fair value?
We would have to do further research to determine that. To me, it means something like the fair market value, like an appraisal would do, although certainly appraisal is not an exact science, but the statute does allow you to take into consideration educational opportunities, economic development, improvement of the area, all the things the CRA plan allows, so that you don't have to sell things for a value that's close to the appraised value. You could sell things below that, and you just do it at a public hearing and find that the other factors warrant this activity.
I understand. Board Member Shelley.
Mr. Chair, I guess procedurally what I'm inquiring about is again, I support the concept, It's just the lack of details. I can't vote yes now or no now to sell the property to you and then get the details later. So for tonight's purposes, the direction we're given is our direction to proceed with additional documentation to maybe get a development order in place to review before we take a vote, or what are you looking for us to do tonight on this topic?
Several things. The first one is a sense of whether discounted value is something that you're amenable to, and it sounds to me, just listening to the consensus, it sounds like we're in that zone. But the more important thing is if you're asking for a development agreement to be drafted, we're going to need some sense of the parameters of the deal. What is it that you're looking for? Are you looking for a specific development program? How much square footage of retail? How much square footage of college? That type of an analysis, the height of the building, how many stories, all these things. Are those the things that matter to you? Is there something else that you're looking for, or is it just the price that's the issue? I think it'll be easier to determine fair value if we have a better sense of what they're building, and then you'll have, I think, an easier time justifying it. But that's really totally, and then also, do timelines matter to you as well? That would be another policy issue for you is, does timeline matter? If so, what kind of timelines are you looking for? And what kind of guarantees are you looking for? Because I think what you're hearing tonight is they're saying they're committed to the project, but you won't see plan submission till January 1st, 2013. Is that something that you'd want to set as a requirement? Is that too far ahead for you? Just kind of some of these policy issues, I think, would be helpful if you can give us a sense of where you're at. And or is this the instrument that you're looking for? Is there something else? I discussed with David a bit about if you're uncomfortable and they're having a difficult time committing right now, we could also start looking at some option instruments that would give them maybe some sense that you're supportive of selling them the property, but would also give them some time to get their deal together. So we could look at a whole bunch of things, really. It depends on where you're at on this.
Okay.
Follow-up, Board Member Shelley?
Yeah, please. I guess I'll weigh in first since I asked the question. The problem I have is that I don't want to put the plan together for you. I want you to put the plan together and bring it to me and say, this is what you envision for our city, and then I can evaluate it, because price is dependent on what you're proposing. If you propose something that I think is going to add great value to the downtown area, then price is less of a consideration to me. And so one kind of goes in front of the other or with each other. And so, yeah, I want to know the square footage. I want to know the size of the building. I want to know the makeup of percentage school versus percentage commercial. These are things that I want to know about before I vote on it. And then I also want timelines and commitments that says that, maybe we can reevaluate along the way if we need to, but at least at a minimum, this is what we're getting for our money. And so the more detailed the plan, obviously, the better to the extent possible. I just can't approve a bare-bones sale and then wait for it. And so for me, that would be my direction, is as much detail as we can get. I'd like for you to present an actual detailed plan, as detailed as you can, whatever you envision, and that way I can evaluate it, look at it, talk to the manager about it, and get more information before I say vote yes or no, because I don't want to kill the project. I think you guys are on the right track, but I'm uncomfortable when it's kind of we're going to do it, don't worry about it, because I can't accept that on behalf of the citizens. I need documentation and proof.
So Council, Board Member Shelley, let me see if I get it. Are you saying that you're in favor of moving forward with those set parameters that you have just given? Because in order for them to...
Yes, I'm okay with moving forward, but not voting on
Not voting on it, right.
Not voting on the sale of the
Right.
property, but voting to have them put together the parameters that they choose to then put into a written proposal to then bring back to us to then reevaluate and determine whether we want to make changes to your proposal or accept it as is, and price will come in part there as well based on what the proposal. So I'd like to put some meat on the bones, I guess, is what I'm looking to do.
Okay.
Well, we would definitely have to regroup, our executive team would have to regroup and make that determination whether we would want to proceed or not. For us, again, and with, much respectfully, the property currently isn't producing anything. And our commitment is to get it to start producing, to put it bluntly. So absolutely. I mean, we'll definitely take that into consideration. But
Councilman Williams, if I could add to something for all of you to consider, including the applicants, is if this is an issue of they have a pretty good idea that they're not going to be able to commit to a development plan for a period of time, we can also, if you have interest in it, discuss with them some sort of an option to purchase agreement where we'll put conditions of approval. If you meet these particular criteria, you can buy this property over a period of time, so they'll know that they have the ability to buy the property under this given time frame, and hopefully that'll give them some comfort level to continue to move down the lazy river, so to speak. And then if they can meet those criteria, then you'd be required to, consider their proposal and allow them to purchase the property, if that's something that you'd consider. But it would also need to give you the flexibility where if you don't like what they're building, then you can say no as
Now,
well.
George, I like that. Now, where you been the last 40 minutes? Now, I don't have a problem with that. I think that is a place that we can start at. And if I'm going to just throw this out there because that's just who I am. But if we have given so much time to the bowling alley and they hadn't produced nothing, surely we can work something out with Dade Medical College, because I understand.
we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I understand that. But I think that you all have a great proposal, and I'm very supportive of it. But at the same time, I have to agree with my colleagues and share their reservation of it. But if I don't mind supporting that, so that they can have some way of knowing that we're supportive of their project, but with these certain conditions. And I think we both will share something in the experience and in the game. So I don't have a problem doing that if my colleagues feel amenable to that, and they can add whatever they need to add in that they might feel comfortable. So I like to move forward with that idea, and then perhaps the other board members can add or take away what they didn't like what you said. But I'm very comfortable with that.
Mr. Chair?
Sure.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you. That's why you get the big bucks, George. Because rather than see it fail, this shows you that we believe in you. I believe in you, and I know that others do as well. And this would give you an option, and I should have come up with that because I've taken I don't know how many option courses. So cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and shame on me. So good for you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Any other comments? What do we need to do in order to go ahead with that process?
I think if you all agree that that represents the consensus of the group, we'll sit down with the applicant and try to negotiate an option to purchase with some conditions of approval and see how we get.
And should we set a time parameter or a time frame that when is the next CRA meeting?
We could have one in December, January. It really depends on the will of the board.
I guess the question I'd have for the applicant is, how long do you think it'll?
As soon as possible. We're ready.
You're saying, I'm sorry, you're saying that you can get with him as soon as possible to work out those details, and
Yes.
then at the call of...
Yes, we would definitely want to do it sooner than later. I would, if you're talking December, that's 2 weeks away, we're ready to sit down and discuss that, absolutely.
We can commit to bringing back in December kind of an update, and if we're finished, that'll be fine. The one other thing I would want to get from you, since I have you all here, is as part of the conditions of approval, I'm assuming that you want some commitment that they're going to build something, that there's going to be a timeline associated with that, and that they clearly delineate what it is that they're building, and that you'd have the a final approval authority. I'm assuming that's the
Yes,
parameters
for me,
of the deal?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for that. From what I'm seeing is they're looking for that kind of guarantee from us as well, that moving, as they continue to move forward and trying to go through this, obviously it's going to be a lot of work on their end. They want that commitment from us as a city to say, hey, we're going to go through all this, but we're going to make sure that at the end of when we finally get to where we need to get to, that you guys don't balk or walk away from that. And I think that's the level of commitment that we need to have or give them through the CRA. This is a great project. I mean, I know that It's, you know, this type of project is something that I've seen that in a master plan with multi-use, so I'd really hate to see this organization walk away from, even though that I don't see it because they're so committed to the community already. I just want to make sure that we give them that guarantee, so.
We are definitely committed, and thank you, Councilman, because, yeah, the importance is time for us, obviously. I mean, it is time sensitive as we, you know, obviously Homestead is a very important community, but we also have campuses and locations in other communities as well.
Okay.
Mr. Manager, just so you know that there is a CAL scheduled on the 6th, and then the council meeting's on the 14th, so we can also, if we need to, have a special call, but I know the holidays are there, and I wanted you to be aware of the time frame.
All right, final comment so we can wrap this up, because we're going into our next
Mr.
meeting.
Chair,
Yes.
one more question. Is there any, are we going to be penalized or anything just holding on to this property? I know, again, we're going back to that, with the issue with the CRA and legislative, might, you know, if it gets sunset, what happens to this property? Does that stay under us? You know, what will happen? Because
I think the hope would be is that if we have an option to buy instrument that's been approved by you, that'll show some good faith on the county's part. But from our part to the county, but I can't guarantee that you won't be cited again for holding on to these properties.
So that's kind of my only concern that I have here time-wise, because of what's happening in Tallahassee and the way they're pushing, you know, this issue which Sunshine in the CRA, what will happen to this property? Is there some answer? I mean, are we going to lose that property? Let's say we don't strike a deal in 6 months, or nothing happens in 6 months. And in 6 months, the legislative body says, you know, we're going to do away with your CRA. You know, that any property that you have, is that property under the CRA? Is that in jeopardy of being removed from us? Is my question.
And I can't, since the legislation is relatively new, I'd have to do a little bit more research to give you a definitive answer. We did discuss that briefly, but again, this legislation was just proffered. I do know they're looking to implement them, if it is approved, in July of next year. So there is a bit of a time frame before, if it is approved. I just don't want to misspeak in front of the board because there's a lot of moving parts that are happening right now, and I would do you a disservice if I tried to give you a definitive answer.
All right. David, come on, we got to wrap it up now.
Just very briefly to add to that, under that proposed legislation, even it has a due process component where before a Board of County Commissioners terminates a CRA, they first have to give notice to the CRA, and the CRA has a right to present evidence and be heard on the matter. So even if that legislation is adopted and proceedings are invoked, which we don't know that they would be, but we still have time to respond and to take action.
Okay.
All right. All right. All of my board members are okay with what we have just given direction on? All right. Okay. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Council.
All right. Any reports? No reports? Public comment on CRA matters. Public comment. All right. Seeing none. The adjournment? All right. Second. All right. Thank you so very much for attending our CRA board meeting.